so sick of this weekend. I don't even want to hear.
Welcome back to This Takes the Cake. We are on episode 3 of our New York City series, and we're so excited to have Brian Marcus of Fred Marcus Studio here with us.
Thank you.
Brian is the third generation to work in the photography business. His family has been in this for 80 plus years. So
Yep.
Brian, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started, what the family business has looked like, and a little about the legacy?
Of course. So we have been in business now 86 years. My father, my grandfather, and now me. I've been here for about 23 years doing this now, crazily enough. And we have an amazing studio in Manhattan. We do a full-on production with all of our clientele. So it's not just kind of showing up and taking beautiful photos. We have a staff in the studio that almost acts as sort of help to the event planners, where we work with our clients full-time before the wedding, obviously during and after. We have our own production studios, so we do all our own album designs and retouching. We have our own editors, and we keep it all very hands-on. But yeah, this is now our 5th year in our new studio, but we were in the same studio for almost 6 years.
Wow.
I know we should have bought the building, but that's another podcast. And it's been amazing. I mean, from early ages, I used to assist my father at 11, 12, 13, 14 in high school just to make some extra money, and learned so much from him and my grandfather about business and about relationships and working with clients of this caliber. And I kind of just fell into it. I worked a little in Los Angeles and separated a little bit and just kind of
rebel.
Tried to go my own, not go my own way, but sort of seek my own path. And when I started getting hired as a photographer in Los Angeles constantly, I said, this is silly. So came back here, and a third generation business is not easy. So
Right.
the world has completely changed. I remember my dad, bringing the film in and having it developed, believe it or not, in the studio when I was super young. And then when I started, it was all film. There was no digital cameras left or yet. And seeing the world sort of evolve and progress, the technology just changed drastically. It's pretty awesome that we can maintain this level of a reputation and consistency with the team that we have. We've always had a group of photographers and videographers. We were one of the first studios in New York City to start doing color video.
Oh my goodness.
There's a lot of stories. And it's just a nice testament to our name and the quality and the family. And we just continue every day to strive to keep that reputation at a high level.
What has it meant to you to be able to work with families from years and years and years ago, and now, photograph them when they got married, photograph their kids when they had bar and bat mitzvahs, now photographing their weddings? What has that meant?
I'm 46. And so I'm kind of like in that age group now, or that number where I remember my dad coming back from work or the weekend and talking to me all about how, he not only did the groom's wedding at that moment, but also did his bar mitzvah, and how my grandfather did his parents' wedding. And it is such a humbling, but really beautiful thing that I'm a part of that. But for example, this weekend, honestly, what is it, Tuesday? On 3 days ago, we were in the Hamptons for a beautiful wedding, and the groom's grandparents walk in, and the gentleman and lady, both married, were in good health, but I think mid-90s. And I swear to you, without even looking at me, he kind of had a hunch, and he goes, your grandfather did my wedding. And I didn't know that, but that honestly happens, I would tell you, 80% of the time that we work at a party. It might not be the actual clients that we work for at the moment, but I could be standing in front of the ceremony and 10 people walk over to me and talk to me about not only my family, my grandfather, my father, et cetera. And so it's really nice. Back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s even, we were doing, 500 to 1,000 events a year.
Wow.
And
Can you imagine?
we
Oh
had
my God.
multiple photographers. It was all film. We did all our own hand retouching and everything like that. And so when you're doing work for that many clients, and you do them consistently well, over the years, they stick with you. And that's why we believe in like really evolving a relationship with the clients, not just kind of doing a great job on the wedding day and impressing them with the work, but really keeping them, coming back to the studio and working on other projects besides what most people may think that we do. And it's really nice. So to answer your question, yes, it happens almost every day. And it's astonishing how many people know my family and have worked with our family. And now I'm doing the weddings of the grooms whose bar and bat mitzvah, and the brides whose bar and bat mitzvahs that I did. In 2 weeks, I'm doing a wedding for one of my dear friends who I did her sweet 16. I mean,
Crazy.
it's bizarre. So things are all happening that way. It's a little shocking, but luckily I still feel really young and
you are. Don't worry.
Working it and it's just crazy that I've hit that age where I totally remember looking backwards and remember my dad talking that way. So I've kind of hit that mark.
But I think that's something that you're known for throughout the industry is being someone who is all about those relationships and keeping those relationships going, not just through the wedding, but when they have kids, taking family portraits, being there for milestones throughout the kids' lives, and then staying around for bar and bat mitzvahs or sweet 16s or quinceañeras, whatever it might be.
It's, we've done every stage of life for so many families, from, like you said, the christening, a baptism, a bris, a bar mitzvah, birthdays, anniversaries. I mean, every week, honestly, every week, people look at us really as wedding photographers, or let's say the younger generation looks at us as just wedding photographers. But we've been doing, let's just call them personal events, for ever since we started. So on a given week, we could do 2 birthday parties, an anniversary party, a few weddings, a bar and bat mitzvah, and it's always something different. And like you said, what makes my job so wonderful is that not only do we or are we responsible for capturing like the most important days for our clients, but there's a way that we do it, and a passion that we put into it and an effort that we put into it that reflects on us personally. And I think that the relationships that we formed from meeting those clients and from working with them, and obviously doing a good job. You got to do a good job.
Right.
But once that's all said and done, I have so many friends that, I would say, every 2 out of 3 grooms that I work with, we go play golf together, and they come in for dinner or lunch, or, there's a lot of legs to our business. And
you're not just a photographer.
No, and I think people see that, within a couple minutes of us starting to work with them, whether it be on an engagement shoot or a portrait, or there's just a way to do it. And we're lucky enough to have that pretty solid. Constantly evolving.
Yeah, for
but there's a way to do it.
You always have to evolve because, as we grow in the industry, things are changing. There's, new technology. There's always something that we have to grow with.
That's a whole other thing too. The technology from when I started to now is, it's a completely different world.
Yeah.
So there's so many advantages, and there's a tremendous amount of disadvantages too.
Right.
But it's interesting navigating through that, and I think we're doing all right.
I think so too. Have you always done photography and videography, or at what point did you go into the videography world?
I think ever since video cameras became a thing, I'm guessing probably in the 70s, we really started doing and offering full-on videography. But as long as video was doable, we've been offering it. Yeah, and we still offer it today. I would say we do video probably 75 to 85% of the time we do the photography. It's nice. We have a team that works together all the time, and everybody knows each other and knows how we work and move. And
that's so important.
It is important.
Wedding,
it's nice to have that harmonious relationship.
Right. And they can read each other's body language in ways that other people can't, especially when you're trying to film ceremony or those big moments throughout the night in a wedding reception, you don't want the photographer and the videographer
working against
right,
each other. Yep.
Right. You don't want them in the way.
I always say you rarely see the photographers in the video and the videographers in the photography. Not that we're not good looking and shouldn't be in the picture, but my point is that we always try to work together
as a seamless unit.
And that's a big advantage to using one studio for both things.
Right. Talk to us a little bit about your approach to photography and specifically in weddings, from the initial consultation to the delivery of like the final wedding album. What does the process look like?
So when we get an inquiry online or a phone call, we're very quick to call them back and be in touch. We invite them into the studio, which used to be all the time. Now everybody likes to get on a Zoom. We get to know each other, learn about the event, and then rather quickly sort of provide them with an estimate or an idea on what things cost. Because I really think these days especially, that's sort of like what's in everybody's mind.
Yeah.
And to those out there that don't call because they're worried that the price will be too high, I please don't do that, right? Like you call, sometimes there's a free day if a wedding is during the week, if it's not a busy month. And I'm not talking about just for myself, but a tip is don't assume. Pick up the phone, make a call, and just get an idea before you decide.
Right. Just because they see your incredible work online doesn't
happens
mean
all the
it's
time.
out of their range.
All the time.
Inquire and learn more, and then you can have a conversation about what's realistic and what's not.
100%. We send them galleries. We send them to our Instagram page. We send them videos. We send them to our website, which I don't know. These days, the website is sort of overlooked a little bit. I don't know if you...
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, most people who I ask if they've seen our website continue to tell me that it's always the Instagram site. And I said, you just got to be a little careful with that because on the website you see full galleries. There's an About Us section. You can learn a little bit more about the studio and the history. So I always send people to both. And then we put together like a mock, proposal, like an estimate. If the pricing meets with their approval, get all the information, we put more information together, send it out, and hopefully either meet in person to book the party or it's just, sent online.
Right.
And then from there, we start, gathering information. We do engagement shoots a few months after most clients sign up with us. And the biggest thing is that we're always available for them. So any phone calls, emails, text messages now, they all get answered.
Everyone wants to be in contact via text now.
I know. Trust me. And so we're available. And just keep a really consistent line of communication all the way, not only up to the wedding, but even through the wedding. And that to me is the biggest thing that sort of I've brought into the table. When I first started in the business, those things were sort of taken for granted. We know the grandparents, we know the aunts and uncles, we know the cousins. And because it was film, not that there was a limit to what we did, but every roll of film has 24 frames. So you're not shooting 70,000 rolls of film. And it's important, it was less important to necessarily know or ask for every single specific detail. And these days that's totally changed. I think that really reaching out to the clients and having them realize that we want to know everything.
Right.
It's a one-time, God willing, it's a one-night deal.
You can't rewind.
You can't rewind it. And it allows us to be our most creative selves when all of that, sort of those finer details are understood before.
Right.
So I'm not worried about who the parents' friends are. I'm not worried about the couple's best friends and what their names are, a shot list. I mean, all of that is really done really well before a wedding, which enables us to really do our thing even better.
Talk to us a little about the importance of the shot list.
Yeah, so very important to find out key people. There's no way that I would know that you went to college with two girls since you were born from the same town you were born in, and you want a picture of the three of you.
Right.
Those are little things that you should definitely share with your photographer, if not us. the shot list is key. My assistant helps with it. We usually take it out of the event planner's hands. I always say that let them do what they do best and let us do what we do best, which they like very much.
I agree.
And we strategize. And if it's too much, we have the conversation. If we need more time, we have the conversation. But I look to just confirm that we get like the obvious groups of photos, but the more photos that are requested, and this to your viewers might be helpful, the more photos that are requested limits the amount of time that you can spend with the actual couple themselves.
Right.
So, if you're looking for, a ridiculous array of photos, all different styles, indoors, outdoors, flash, natural light, some editorial, some pose, some, all that, which you should ask for, you need some time to do that. You can't just rush it under, in an hour. So getting the information allows us to sort of prepare and structure the day and understand what, how much time should be allocated to certain things.
And that all plays into the whole timeline for the entire wedding day, not just for photography, but that impacts, okay, if they want to take photos in front of their chuppah, for example, we need to make sure the florist has the install done and make sure all the chairs are set and everything, even if it's 4 hours before the ceremony.
Everybody's got to be on the same page. And listen, the photos typically are sort of one of the more important things for the couple.
Absolutely.
And so working with the florist and the venue and alerting them to not only how important the photos are to the couple, but what time we'd love these things to be ready for them. It's a shame. I mean, sometimes there are weddings that a client may spend a large amount of money in this the most beautiful backdrop available, and it's not available for pictures. And you sort of run through the ceremony and you look back and you may take a couple photos afterwards. But it's a shame because they put all this effort and time and money into a chuppah, let's say, for a Jewish wedding, and you use it for like 10 minutes.
Right.
So just communicating with everybody, and most florists and event planners have the same philosophy on all of that stuff. It just has to be discussed in detail. That's all.
And what's the process look like post-wedding?
So, like in terms of like deliverables and all that stuff, we try to get previews or highlights to our clients as soon as possible. So let's say a few days. And then we are pretty good about our team. I mean, given the amount of events that we do, some months are a little bit more difficult than others, but I would say we deliver a full gallery with all their photos edited and culled and cropped and beautifully displayed. I'd say about 3 to 6 weeks, just depending on how much and what's out there. It's not months at all. My clients want them, the next day. I always have to remind everybody that we're not like a 1 hour Photoshop.
Yeah.
So, the reason why the work looks like it does is because we really spend time on it. And I have a staff actually that gets paid to really just work on the photos. I do it myself as well. But, if you have 5, 6, 7 parties in a week, that's a lot, too many photos.
That's a lot of photos.
People always ask, any potential client, one question, I guess it's on the list of things to ask is, how many photos do I get? My answer is always too much. That is literally my answer every time. So it's we take thousands of photos. Right. It takes some time to go through. And that's why our galleries are so beautiful. And then eventually the albums come out so nice because they're really looking at the best of the best as opposed to looking at, 14 of the same image. So
how do you pick what goes in the album?
I mean, that's just experience, right?
It's so hard.
I sit with my clients personally. We go through from picture 1 to picture 1,500, and we really work together on picking the best stuff. I obviously guide them through it. Most clients are overwhelmed after a wedding, so they that's part of what they're investing in with us, the time that we spend with them. And some people come in for an hour, and I've had clients come in 7 times to do an album. No, I mean, that happens often. So used to it all. And I try to explain that when you're, kind of valuing our studio, that's part of what you're paying for. It's not just for us to show up and take beautiful photos and deliver them and hope we never speak to them again. It really is a process for us, and we enjoy that.
You become friends and create the relationship. And, with my own wedding photographer, I was the same way. And she actually ended up coming to our apartment at the time. Yeah. We got a bottle of wine. We had some cheese and crackers. And we sat and went through all the photos together.
That's the way to do it.
It's the best because at that point you're starting to become friends and you really get to know what's important to them. And it's helpful to be able to just do it together in one place.
Absolutely. Not only that, I don't even think most clients like really know the potential of what they can do with the photos.
I would agree.
Right? And so just educating them when they come in, and we have frames all around the office, and we do gallery walls and all different types of books. And when they walk in, their eyes are open at the amount of options and choices.
Right.
So that's not going to happen if you don't sort of offer that to your clients.
Right. How do you make sure that each couple's unique story is authentically captured?
We communicate as much as we can before. I had a meeting last night with a client who, believe it or not, really wanted guided, posed. I wouldn't use the word formal, but like so many people now want the artistry and the candids and the blurry shots are no longer a mistake. They're on the cover of an album.
Right.
And I love all that, and we do all that. But I really do look at every client as its own project. And if somebody wants something specific, we are more than trained and experienced to bring that to them. It just needs to be talked about before. So they saw some galleries where they loved the family photos, but they saw that the couple's photos were very candid, where their eyes, let's say the majority of the time, weren't at the camera. And she told me straight up, you know what, I really love pictures that are just like what everybody would maybe used to expect, where it's just eyes to the camera, beautifully posed pictures. And I said, yeah, we do that. We do that in our sleep.
Right.
But it was interesting because the gallery that we shared with her, which was at the same venue, that couple wanted the complete sort of opposite of that. And so sending her 3 more galleries and showing her what we, pretty much do the majority of the time, she was obviously relieved. But yeah, it's important just to find out what they like. And people say, can we send you photos like from online to like show you inspiration? And they're like, they think we get sort of weird by that. And of course, right? Like you want to know and learn what everybody likes.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's so important, especially for people that are, potentially looking for photographers right now. You have to communicate what you're looking for
100%.
Because just because you don't see it featured on the website or featured on their Instagram doesn't mean they can't do it. And
people say, you do headshots?
Right.
I mean, I'd say we do probably 15 to 20 headshots a month through the studio. We do stuff for law firms and private equity firms, whatever. But it's not something that we sort of promote out there as much as maybe we should. But when people are like, oh my God, you do? Like, and then they send the whole staff in.
Right. They just need to ask.
Exactly.
They just need to show what you're looking for. And, if you want a particular style, show it. Show a photo of, hey, we really like this style. Is this something that you can do?
And then you have to be able to show them that it exists.
Exactly.
Right? It's not just take it from me. You have to be able to show them that, we do everything. But yes, having a good head on your shoulders as a bride or a potential client, knowing that, listen, every client that Fred Marcus shoots for isn't the same person. They're not all looking for the same thing. So I always say seeing a wedding in the winter is smart, because what if you have a summer wedding and God forbid it rains the whole time and now you're indoors the entire time? If you've just hired a photographer that's used to shooting in California on the beach every day, it's a different set of skills. It's a different set of equipment, etc. So in New York, we're really chameleons. We obviously do a lot of destination weddings as well, but like there's never a wedding that I would show up to without the appropriate staff or equipment in order to deal with any situation that gets thrown at us. And I think that's really important. A lot of people don't think, most things we suggest, you too, you probably get oh yeah, that makes like a lot of sense. So hopefully
just today.
Yeah, I mean, this is something hopefully that is helpful to your listeners.
For sure. Do you have any moments that, really take the cake for you or took the cake for you throughout your career of like, maybe it was an awful experience that, maybe ended okay.
I can't talk about those.
NDAs, lips are sealed.
Can't talk about the bad stuff. Listen, there's, honestly, in the 23 years that I personally have been shooting and the 30 years that I've been working in this business, luckily, I don't have like the funniest stories. I unfortunately, because I'm asked that all the time, but for the most part, they've gone rather well.
Love that for you.
For me, the moments that stand out the most is, maybe at a young age, getting a phone call to do a very special wedding for a special celebrity or an athlete and something like that. And I'm a huge music and sports fan, and I've done some work for pretty amazing people in those spaces.
Any you can share with us?
Well, it's the ones that are on my website. The James family, so LeBron James hired our studio, myself, to do the wedding, and being there with them, and I've subsequently been to their home 3 or 4 times, and I've done some other events for them personally. Getting to know people like that you sort of like, I don't know about it in awe of, but are like role models, especially being I'm a huge Knicks fan, but a huge basketball fan.
What a disappointment this year.
It feels good. It feels good to be recognized like that and hired for people with that type of, I guess, an eye. But what it comes down to is that you always be yourself. I sat down with his fiance at the time, now his wife, and we sat in my office just like everybody else, and we went through albums and talked about the day. And at that point, I don't even think they had an event planner at the moment. I ended up working with a friend, Marcy Bloom, on that wedding. But I think they just want to not only feel taken care of, and obviously that they're going to get beautiful pictures, but for those types of clients and our extremely high-end business clients from New York City, et cetera, it's a trust thing. Right? And like, I think these days it's hard for any photographer, maybe in their 30s or 20s. You've seen it in the business. Social media is paramount, and it's I don't want to say it's a selfish thing, because you really have to do it. It's pretty inexpensive marketing. It makes sense compared to back in the day when you thought you needed a New York Times article and figure out how to get one. Now I find it hard to believe that so many people want their personal events shared to publicly.
For sure.
That seems to be the case. And so we're all into it, but those specific clients that feel like theirs should be secured and protected, and that they can invest in a company that's used to working with clientele like that, or like them, is super important.
Super important.
And then a few clients of mine for many years are very close with their family, and they've done business together, and they vouched for me originally as well, and that's how I met them, and it's quite simple. But yeah, that was special, kind of getting to know them and engaging with them, and now going to a game and getting the nod and the wave. And,
that must be amazing.
My son is looking forward to meeting him, and every time they're in town, we kind of reach out. It's been a while now since the wedding, but there's still a connection there. So those types of weddings, celebrity weddings, are great. They're proud moments just because of their fame, let's say.
Right.
But we treat honestly treat those events as just as important as or our own personal friends and our regular clientele, not the best basketball player in the world.
Right.
I treat the same exact way. It's the same amount of detail and attention to detail, and same amount of communication. It's really, nothing really changes if it's a wedding of 10 people or 1,000 people, or if it's for a guy like LeBron, or if it's for, John Smith. It doesn't really matter here.
And
I
think that's something that makes you guys so special here. Is that people really see you guys as kind of the family business.
We're all in.
That everyone takes care of each other and treats, no matter what client it is, the same way.
I really believe that, and I appreciate that. But that's something that we hold super important. It really is.
Now, when do you recommend potential clients reaching out for a wedding photographer? And, what should they consider during the selection process?
So I think the most important thing is when you get your wedding date and you've confirmed it, because without a date, nothing really can happen.
Right.
So the wedding date is first. And then the minute that you have that date, if they're a photographer, or if you're interested in using us for your wedding, I think the most important thing is to call or email right away, express your interest, and see if they can hold the date or send you an estimate rather quickly. It doesn't have to be exactly the price. But doing that at least takes one step forward. And I know speaking for ourselves, once a proposal is written, in our system, that date is now held. So let's say the next day somebody called us for the same date, I would now be able to pick up the phone and say, Julie, I know you just called me tomorrow, but somebody just called me for the same date. I just want to know, like, I'm not trying to rush you, but I want to know what you're thinking.
Yeah, first right of refusal.
Correct. And so, believe it or not, it happens a lot. And some people procrastinate a little bit too much.
Oh, don't we know it?
Yeah. Listen, if you get amazing referrals for somebody, if you've seen their work, if you love what you're seeing, if you've called them and had a great conversation or a Zoom, these are all good things. If all of those check boxes are off the list, then I would put in a call for a proposal and get the ball rolling a little bit and make sure that they can hold the date. And you don't have to book it right away, but definitely let them know, hey, listen, if somebody calls for my date, will you let me know so I can decide right away? And that's sort of the only, in my opinion, solution for
Something that I've heard from multiple clients now is that they're very overwhelmed by the number of photographers that are out there and how
Me too.
and how to like pick which one to go with.
Yeah.
And I always recommend, like, you have to get them on the phone, you have to talk to them, or meet them in person depending on where you are and where they're located, and you have to get that connection. The connection between the photographer and the couple is what's going to make the relationship so strong from right off the bat. Just because you like their work doesn't mean you're going to get along with them.
I agree. And honestly, that's why I recommend making appointments with your photographer and meeting them in person. I really am. I'm honestly shocked at, I mean, listen, we have a family business for 3 generations. So somebody calls us and says, I'm having a wedding. I mean, they know they're not talking to sort of a random company or somebody that a random person recommended. They know there's that business setup, which is I guess an asset for us. But to book somebody for one of the most important days of your life and to really have a vision for what you want and not really explore the relationship before that you book with their personality and how they work, and really understanding, like, there's so many things I bring up to clients, like, let me ask you a question. If the photographer that you're looking at, God forbid, has an emergency that day or emergency the day before or gets sick, and these aren't things to like get worried about necessarily for the viewers, but it's something to think about.
Of course.
And I honestly am shocked with how many clients will discuss the photography and not think about those things.
I think that came really forward, especially during COVID. What if my photographer gets COVID? What happens?
That was the clear example of
it.
So, how soon we forget. But my recommendation is, you want to make sure that not only are the people that are showing up people that work a lot with the photographer, if not are full-time, right? So if somebody says, oh yeah, we're bringing 10 people to shoot the event, you're like, wow, the other guy only offered me 1. And then they're like, well, let's do it. And then the 10 people are like, they're 7, 8, 9, 12, and 14-year-old kids. I mean, you don't know is the point.
Right.
And so a lot of people don't, honestly, like, they kind of skip past that. They see a few pictures on Instagram, or a friend is a great referral, but you want to make sure that there's some form of an insurance plan or backup, or you at least ask those questions and you're okay with it. You know, the what happens questions to me is important.
Right.
What's
plan B in case of emergency? It's really important.
That's the same thing with rain and all of that stuff. Nobody likes talking about it, but I always say the rain plan is plan A. Plan B is that you're free to do whatever you want that day. It's important to hire people that understand that and know how to adjust when things like that, sort of come into play.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So a couple signs on with you. It's time for an engagement session.
Yes.
Can you give any tips on how couples can make the most of their engagement session?
Yeah. First thing is pick a great location. Second thing is share with the photographer what you want to wear. So everybody says, well, what should we wear? And I give them some websites and some brands, obviously, that I think are really beautiful to kind of copy a little bit, you know, get inspiration from.
Yep.
But then I have brides who will like try on stuff and like text me on the side and be like, what do you think? I'm into that. I do think that that's cool to show a little bit of an interest in how these pictures come out. And it's much nicer if our clients dress appropriately for these events. So those are two tips.
What about like being awkward?
Yeah, I mean, that's talked about all the time. If you are hiring a photographer and you are worried about the experience and the interaction between you and them and how they work with you, then I would not book them for the wedding before the engagement shoot. We actually include the engagement shoot very often. Obviously, everything's always circumstantial, but most of the time, the engagement shoot is a gift that we give our clients so that we can work with them beforehand. We just think it's smart. If you're worried about it, I would definitively pay for the engagement shoot. I don't care what it costs. Really get that experience down and be thrilled with it, and then pay for the wedding.
What about if you're awkward as a human? Like,
you need to hire the right photographer to loosen you up immediately. And being an experienced professional and having luck, hopefully I should say you have a. I mean, listen, everybody's different. I can only talk for my staff. There's nobody working here that has sort of a subpar personality,
right?
And I do believe that matters almost, if not as much, as the quality and the artistry of the pictures. So,
do you tell people to take a shot before? Like, are we like loosening things up?
We have alcohol in the studio. I mean, we always offer that, but I think within 5 to 10 minutes of working with a really great person and a great photographer, even the grooms are immediately loosened up. And especially during the wedding, to see the reactions of the bridesmaids and the family members and the parents and the siblings react to how professional you are.
Right.
The fact that we know everybody's names, the fact that we're organized and efficient with what we do, and also that we're passionate. I mean, you can stand there taking beautiful photos and not say a word, and the whole thing is boring. I mean, this past weekend on Saturday, I had a wedding where, for some reason, it was at a venue that we're at all the time. For some reason, it was so quiet. And so, I don't know, 5 minutes in, I just took my phone and put on a great playlist just to amp it up a little bit. But it's all circumstantial.
Right.
You want the photographers to have wonderful personalities, to be super excited to work with you and feel something when they do what they do. And I think that leads to a better product, better pictures, better experience. But yeah, if I had $1 for every time somebody said we're awkward in pictures, I'd be retired. So I would. So it's our job to do things in a way that enable you to feel way more comfortable than you originally thought. And believe it or not, showing a client who's really in their head a couple pictures right away loosens them up, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You
totally,
take three photos basically and show them one of them and they love them within 30 seconds.
They just, oh wow, okay, yeah, we got this.
And we keep them moving and have fun. It's not formal,
right.
We like to.
What's your favorite place in New York to shoot these?
Oh wow, I mean, New York's great. Honestly, my favorite,
Yeah.
I would say.
If someone says, where should we go? We love New York. We're classic New Yorkers.
So I'm counting the Hamptons in New York. So anywhere on the beach, for me, is really special and cool.
What about if they want city vibes?
Yeah, I mean, I just did an engagement shoot where the parents, believe it or not, did one of those plaques on a bench, and that's where they got engaged. So it had meaning, and so we did it in Central Park.
Love that.
I did another engagement shoot recently where their first date was at a restaurant called the American something, I forget, and that's where we started the engagement shoot.
Love that.
Anything like that. Some people have a real vision, and for that we take all recommendations, and we'll go anywhere around Manhattan. Again, we do give it as a gift, so we don't travel super far.
Right.
But if somebody wants us to go somewhere, we would. But learning beforehand, and if they request something, then and it means something to them, then I would say that that's probably, they're doing the work for you.
Yeah.
But I mean, New York is amazing. I mean, we can go into Central Park and be on do a shoot in the subway in 4 minutes. I mean, so this area that our studio is in, Columbus Circle, we've actually only been here now for about 6 years, has become an amazing location because you have the streets, you have brownstones going west, you have the subway stations, the cabs are always around.
Yep.
It's like a vibrant New York. The Plaza Hotel, the Pierre Hotel, the Apple Store. It's all within, I don't know, 3-4 blocks.
Right.
So this happens to be a great place to start.
Awesome.
But if it's meaningful to do it in the East Village or the West Village or Tribeca or whatever, we do it. Some people want to do it in their apartment. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Whatever's meaningful to them,
It's amazing. It's so nice to be able to learn more about their story through the engagement session. And then by the time you get to the wedding, you're already best friends.
It's important. People are like, do we have to do the engagement show? I say, no. But if you think it would be a good idea to sort of get to know the photographer beforehand, then I would do it, for sure.
Totally.
And if somebody charges for it, pay it before the wedding. If you're not 100% convinced, it's sort of like the makeup and hair.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, get that
Gotta
stuff
do the
done.
trial.
That's another tip you asked. Maybe do a trial the morning of to see if you love everybody and feel that
Totally.
everybody's in place and doing a great job. So yeah, those are my recommendations. The clothing, the hair, the makeup trials, a great location. And if you're worried about the way that the photographer may connect with you, then I think it is a good investment to spend money on an engagement shoot, if that's what they charge for, before you end up working with them for the wedding. I don't think that's a silly idea at all.
Smart.
Yeah.
Thoughts on first look? Are they good? Should we keep them?
I love first look.
Yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to what? No look?
Yeah.
Okay.
No look. Well, so many brides want that classic moment of the groom or the bride seeing them the first time when they walk down the aisle. But it really causes a disruption in
the flow
of the whole night, and it doesn't allow them to get the photos out of the way before the ceremony, and it takes away from cocktails or even into the reception if you're trying to get large family photos.
Yeah, we can. I always say we always can recommend, but we can't decide or push. So, and it's not selfishly, believe it or not. I was going to say, it's always good for the photographer to have more time before. It has nothing to do with us. If you are a couple that wants a large selection of photos of the two of you before the ceremony, is the time to do them. Unless you leave the appropriate amount of time after the ceremony to do them. So if you have a break in the ceremony and you'd like that first look at the church or at the synagogue or wherever you're getting married, then I'm all for it. But if you're going to rush the pictures after the ceremony because you have to get to the cocktail hour and you only have 25 minutes to take pictures together, I don't think that is awesome, but it's not up to us. We'll be ready and get as much as we can in that time. But that's the biggest thing, is that you shouldn't be rushed and stressed out to quickly get your hair and makeup touched up and have 15 minutes of the most important pictures the day of your wedding.
Right.
So definitely like the first look. Definitely like no stress before the ceremony, getting all the family photos done, the bridal party, the couple. To me, that's the way to do it. But I mean, I've done it a million ways. We've done it on a different day before.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of cool, though, because if a bride is willing to get dressed up, even if the dress is a little dirty, which we can always touch up, she can jump in the ocean, jump in the pool. I wish actually more people thought of it like that. So, you can always do it. The killer is the hair and the makeup, not the getting back in the dress thing. So we've done it before, though.
What are you seeing in regards to trends? Any current trends that you're loving in wedding photography?
Am I loving trends? I'm seeing a big trend on going back to like direct flash, sort of similar to how things were when I started in the business. There was a period of time that, sort of natural, soft, airy photos were sort of it. And that was the sort of the pivot from using flash into that. Now, I think it's a real balance of everything, which we've always sort of been a fan of. I don't think there's really one way to do it. Trends. I mean, nothing that pops into my head that stands out. I mean, we offer, posed photo booths now as opposed to the sort of the automatic machine-based photo booth, which is kind of cool and becoming popular, where, the guests get handled properly as opposed to just saying, okay, guys, smile with the props, and that's fun.
That's so fun.
Sort of discussions beforehand on maybe some important props. I've brought sort of custom backdrops for certain clients that really like that look of a more like fashion-oriented vibe. But other than that, it's just a balance of everything. I have to make sure that not only is the couple thrilled, but if their parents are very interested in the pictures, that they're happy too. And so, talking about all that beforehand is really important. You just want to, you don't want anybody upset after this.
Absolutely.
You want everybody to be happy. And the more you communicate beforehand, the better it is.
What about the future of wedding photography? Is there anything that you see coming in the future or changing in the future?
Well, I'm hoping that this AI revolution, which is pretty incredible for a lot of things, doesn't interfere with most things in the wedding business, and that goes for all professionals. But I think we're in a great place because the tangible aspect of what we do, the personal connection, having somebody there who, like we talked about before, that like really, really connects and cares. I don't think that's going to sort of go anywhere.
If you get rid of that, then what? A robot's going to be taking your photos?
I mean, these days, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
The cool thing about this revolution for us as photographers is there are tools that are evolving that improve your work. And what I mean by that is, and it sounds silly, but there used to be a real issue with whether it be clearing a background or clearing a room or, really focusing, which I still do because I'm a creature of habit. An exit sign is in front of the perfect background that you want. Now, I guess luckily, the Photoshop software has these tools that you kind of don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. So if there's a woman in a pink sweater, in the middle of the street, to remove that used to take real time. I mean, we used to retouch all our photographs in the studio by hand. We used to order matte prints. Carla, who used to work for us still works for us on now digitally retouching, but probably has worked for us for over 30 years, used to retouch the images by hand, spray them in the studio to kind of conceal the retouching in, and then we would send the images to the bookbinder to get bound. And so that has obviously completely gone away. And to me, not worrying about like sort of real little things that take time to figure out, that's been an advantage, I think. I think a lot of photographers make the mistake on sending a lot of their work to some of these or putting it through this AI software that sort of chooses the best photos for them. I would say any photographer that's charging very little compared to what you're looking at probably is using a software like that, and that's okay. But it doesn't sustain that personal. Right. If I photograph a wedding, believe it or not, people are like, you edit your own photos, and I really do. I take the time to ensure that because I was there. Right. You know the moments. I know everything that went on. Right. And so somebody else from some place else might look at your pictures and say that's terrible, but they don't realize that like you told your friend you understand. To make that base this was actually a really special moment, even though it might not look so special to other people. Correct. And then they call you, where, what happened to those pictures? Where are those goofy faces where I'm doing this? We still are, and probably will always be manual here. I honestly like to put in the time, and I like, believe it or not, to pay my staff and to have a staff to be able to give that service to our clients. You also have the ability to now take someone out if a couple breaks up in the family photos. We've done some pretty wild things.
Yeah.
You know, smiles, eyes changing, all that stuff. That stuff no longer is that big of a deal. So there are more ways now that the world is helping photographers that need the help. I guess that's a good thing.
Okay, lightning round. Favorite location to shoot a wedding?
I mean, I don't know. I've been lucky enough to be in many, many countries. My favorite place to shoot a wedding?
How about a city or a country?
What about an island?
Or an island?
Yeah, I did a wedding, which is, the only reason I'm bringing it up because it's unique, is this Richard Branson's island, this Necker Island.
Love that.
So that's unique. That was really, really cool.
That's awesome.
But like we were just in Paris and Amalfi, and we've been to Israel for weddings. I don't take it lightly. I mean, our clients, really want us to go with them as opposed to hiring a random person. They have that relationship. I honestly, I know I'm not trying to ignore the question. I don't know if I have like one place that, just stands out to me.
Is there somewhere that you want to shoot that you haven't shot yet?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Lots of places.
Too many places.
There's too many places.
What is the most underrated moment to capture during a wedding?
Wow, I love that question. One of the most underrated moments. I always teach my photographers to really listen. And there's a difference between photographing a reception and the father of the bride getting up and making a speech and sort of just like photographing the reactions around the room. I try to stay in that speech the whole time and listen. So I might be looking at the couple, but if you really listen to the words and he starts making a joke and he starts telling a story that is going to end up with a great, moment, you're ready for that. And you're a listener as well. And so, one underrated, I guess, shot is really seeing and capturing that split second reaction, whether it's sad or funny or whatever, that they have to speeches. Also looking in the background and not just looking at what's in front of you. So I always sort of take a peek behind the bride and groom. Usually in the front row of the ceremony, you have the parents and the siblings and the grandparents. My grandparents, both sets, were extremely special to me, so I have that sort of inherent need to kind of just always be watching them. And you normally get these amazing shots where the bride and groom are in the foreground, and you're really capturing the emotion and the reaction, and the feeling of them watching them up there, super proud. Walking back down the aisle is always obviously a great shot. The first look, the reaction of the groom. I love the first look of the father, and so I don't want to give away all my shots here, but it's one thing to have the father walk in and see the bride, and that moment is always awesome, right? I have a daughter, and I'm not ready for that, but
She's only a teenager, no?
She's 10. She's 10.
She's not even a teenager.
But I know how special that must feel, or I think I know. But organizing it to where maybe the mom, God willing, there is a mother, walks in after the father, like 10 seconds later, to sort of just like join in that moment, always produces really special stuff. So sort of like improvising and being in the business for so long, you always try to make things even better than the last time. Little ideas like that make it even more special. So very thoughtful, being thoughtful about those photos. Make for better reactions, and your clients appreciate that. I mean, they see it,
And I think that goes to aspiring photographers as well. You've brought up some really great points of how to be a better photographer, because these are the things that you and your team are such experts at.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's just from experience, right? You do these things, and if you really want to get better at it, a lot of photographers always ask, how do you get to a high end level of business? How do you charge more than X amount of money for a wedding? How are you doing this? You got to start by going that extra mile and really showing clients that you're not just sort of like a, here for the money or an average Joe, because there's a lot of average Joes, like you said before. I mean, there's thousands of photographers now that are able to market themselves and promote themselves. That was never the case. You had to be really good at what you do and also be recommended and
Right.
referred. And that's, like you said, the sisters, the brothers, the parents, that was your only way to get business. And luckily my grandfather started it that way. My father continued, and I'm 46, so I was in that mix. I didn't start with a digital camera. I worked for about 10, 12 years in film, and
Right.
with 24 or 12 images per roll is a whole different.
Right.
You could take 12 pictures in a second now.
It's crazy.
So, and the time frame from when I started to now is really not that long. So
Right.
to see this all change within like the last, let's say, 15 years is a whole different podcast that I think you should do one day, and people would be interested in, because we can even show that stuff and show how different it was. So in 15 years, we went from retouching photos by hand to having artificial intelligence do it. It's
That's
pretty
crazy.
wild. It is pretty wild.
Do you have a favorite photo that you've ever taken?
You're asking me favorites of like my worst.
I'm sorry.
I can't answer you about favorite
That's
song,
fine.
movie, food. Favorite photo? No, I really don't. I have a lot of things. You know how many photos I've taken?
I guess it's a good thing that you don't have favorites, but I'm sure
yeah.
some of your favorites, and
My favorite photos are my clients' favorite photos. I know that sounds cheesy, but like the ones that have a lasting. I get texts and calls all the time when people pass away, anniversaries, certain things that just, you'd be surprised. It's not the photo of the invitation.
Right.
Okay. Even though all of this is important that I'm saying, but it's just a moment that a client treasures, whether it's
Totally.
with people or like we said before, a reaction or something that sparks that nostalgia, that are my favorite photos. And people send me stuff, honestly, all the time. I was just looking at my album the other day. I can't tell you, I can't tell you, it's 10 years since my wedding. I can't tell you how important this photo is to me. My grandfather died 2 days, after the wedding. These are all reasons why, I love what we do here, because it makes a difference in people's lives. It really does. It's special. So as difficult of an industry as it may be sometimes, and dealing with all these different personalities may be difficult.
Definitely difficult
I think we're
sometimes.
pretty damn good at it.
I would agree.
And in the end of the day, our favorite photos are the ones that people have printed and used and framed, and that's a big thing here. We like to go that extra mile and make sure that not only are you enjoying them on your phone and on Instagram, but still sort of value the printed images. And I think our clients, honestly, like when they get the album, they're like, how do people not do this? You know what I mean?
I would agree.
And so we package that all into one thing. We think it's really important.
It totally is. Well, Brian, thank you so much for being here with us today. Can you share a little bit of how our listeners and viewers can find you and your website or your Instagram?
Of course. My name is Brian Marcus again. We're Fred Marcus Studio out of New York. It's fredmarcus.com. Our Instagram is at Fred Marcus Studio, and my personal Instagram is at Brian Marcus. So give me a shout.
Yes.
Loved being with you.
Reach out to Brian for all your needs. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for part 4 of our New York City series. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. You were great.